Welcome back, everybody, to the Mind Poppers podcast. I am your host, Adam O Reilly, recording live from the Mind Poppers basement. Before we get into the Mind Poppers of this episode, and look, you've all seen last night, Kanye West officially announced. I mean, I guess it's official. I mean, who knows by him? We don't know if it's official, if it's just shite talk, what have you. From the appearance, it looks like he's officially announcing that he's going to put himself forward as a candidate for the US presidency, the elections. I mean, there's only 4 months left in the race, you know, and up until now, you know, we thought it was going to be Donald Trump, obviously going for re-election for the Republican Party, and then we have in opposition Joe Biden, who is going to be representing the Democratic Party. 4 months left, and they're going to be going head to head. Now, obviously, Kanye has thrown his hat in the ring, so we're going to see what happens. We'll talk about it a little later. First, some personal drama. So, I've been getting these messages, right, on the dating apps. You know, I'm on the dating apps. So I've been getting these messages, right. It started off as a blank profile, and we chatted for ages, okay. And I was telling this to Jenny and Lindsay from the It Gals. I've been keeping them updated because it's a bit of a saga in our group chat. But so I was messaging this person once, okay? It was like, say, 12:30, maybe 2 weeks ago. We were talking till like 4:30 in the morning, you know? It was like the chat was that good, the banter was that good. And you know, because if you're on the dating apps like I am and you're on them regularly to, you know, very little success, once you come into someone who has the good chat, the good banter, someone that you just have a good, as the French say, repertoire with, you hold on to that. You're like, oh, because it's so refreshing, you know? Because you deal with the, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Same old shit, you know? And when you do that on the daily. So then when someone comes and they can, like, you know, go a little back and forth, you know, a bit of attitude, you can bounce off them, and they get you, they get your sense of humor, what have you. It's not just the bland, same old shit rigmarole. So I was into it, you know, I was very much into it. So we chatted till like 4:30 in the morning. They were telling me things that I loved about them, just personality-wise, very controlling. Very controlling, was into it, very toxic, was very into it. And they were telling me things like kind of like sexual interests, what they were into, which and their sexual interests aligned, you know, in terms of like their kinks, what got them going, you know, just things apart from, you know, the ordinary vanilla that we're all into. They had some things which, you know, resonated with me and my sexual interests. So I was like, great. I was like, how often does this happen? You know, this person is super hot. You know, I've seen the pictures, super hot. Really good back and forth conversation. Had that kind of toxicity about them that like moth to a flame in my case. And both of our sexual kind of interests were aligning. You know, I was like, this isn't it for me, you guys. I'm checking off the dating apps because, you know, this finally, I was like, okay, I've gone through all this shit to reach this point. This is going to be, you know, my new beginning, my new toxic dream. So whatever, I was like, it was like 4:30 in the morning, was coming up at 5 a.m. We'd been talking all night. I was like, look, I gotta bounce. I was like, I have to get some sleep, what have you, but we'll definitely pick this back up tomorrow. And I was excited, you know, to be able to wake up, I mean, God, not the next day, but a couple of hours later, and go back into that, because it was just such an interesting dynamic, and we both just clicked. So after I had said goodnight, right, and okay, so obviously I didn't go to sleep. I like waited, like, I stayed up like an extra 5 minutes just to see what this person was going to reply to me when I said goodnight, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And to my dismay, to my shock, horror, before my very eyes, the events that would unfold were that all the messages started to disappear. Before my very eyes, I saw messages like just fading away, you know? My hope of this relationship starting, this new, I don't know, just firecracker of a relationship beginning, was starting to fade before my very eyes. All the messages just suddenly started deleting, and obviously then I come to the conclusion that this person had deleted their account, you know? It's the only way to make the messages disappear like that. And I was like, God, the next day, or again later on that day, I felt hurt. It had triggered something in me on a fundamental level, which was like a fear of abandonment. It's something like that. And I was triggered for sure. I was like, who does that? Like, we clearly had a good conversation. We were going back and forth, little sass mouth every now and again, and then like, from them it was like, don't you sass me, and Kate like, oh, I won't sass you. But, it was good. It was good. But to my dismay, everything disappeared. So I was like, fuck. I was like, that, like, it kind of hurt. Like, I wasn't like obviously devastated. I didn't know this person, but it stung. So whatever, I was like, wow, incredibly rude. So anyway, the day went on. I was on the dating apps again that night. Just, when you're lying in bed, you have something playing in the background and you're swapping from the Tinders to the Bumbles to the Christian Mingles, what have you. And so a message appeared from a blank profile again. And we started chatting, because a lot of people are very discreet and won't want to send a face picture, from the outset. So sometimes you got to do a little bit of conversation, and it gives you a chance to like see the dynamic, what people's banter is like, how your at least conversational personalities intertwine. And again, it was going very well with this new person. And I was like, okay, but send me a picture. And they did. It was this little blonde bitch. Looked like maybe like one of the Paul brothers, like Jake or Logan Paul. So I was into it for sure. And, not that I'd forgotten, but the person from the couple of hours, I keep saying the night before, but you get what I mean. They looked different, one was like dark hair, like different body type, whatever. And I was like, fine. I was like, I'm over it. I'm ready to move on. But as the conversation went on, okay, and I ended up talking to that person again until like 4 a.m. the following night, this new person. But alarm bells started to ring because the things we were talking about and their reaction to certain things was startlingly similar to the person that I had been talking to the night before. And I had dismissed it because it wasn't like, like 100% like connection. I hadn't put any dots together at this point. This person had like the same reaction to me being like, oh, do you smoke a little bit of the herb? Do you fuck like that? And they were like, the second person was like, no, I don't actually hate drugs. It makes me very anxious, makes me very nervous for people taking them, what have you. It would just have me stressed out. They were like, if I was ever going out with someone, they'd have to like cut even weed out of their life, and all of the friends that partake in drugs, they'd have to cut all of them out of their life. Which was exactly the same sentiment as the person the night before was saying. Like, startlingly similar in terms of even the language that they were using and the passion that they used while speaking about it, and had the same concerns about it. Again, look, I didn't draw any dots together at this point because I was like, okay, some people are just like that, I guess. Some people would be a bit more prudish when it comes to the world of drugs, I guess, and smoking and what have you, than others. I was like, okay, obviously I've just found 2 people back to back that have, that are similar like this, Which is so not me, as you know. I'm like, look, do whatever you want. Like, you do you. That is 100% my policy. So whatever, we were talking. I still hadn't made any connections at this point. Talking away. This person I was chatting to on the dating app, the second person was like, oh, you have to check out this movie, Colossal. So I googled the movie. It's a movie about like Anne Hathaway, and she's like, this place has some sort of connection to some almost like, what was that monster's name like in Tokyo? Not the big gorilla, but like that big lizard monster. What's his name again? Whatever. But you know what I'm talking about. Big giant lizard be smashing up cities and shit. Godzilla. There we go. So it was some sort of stupid like comedy drama starring Anne Hathaway, some old Anne Hathaway movie. And I was like, not particularly interested in watching that at all. I was like, oh my God, I'll definitely watch that. Of course, I had no intention of watching that. Absolutely not. So anyway, conversation went on. It was good. Again, we were vibing, with sexual interests, we were vibing. Personality wise, I like a certain personality. It will take a certain personality to to get me engaged. You know, otherwise I'm a very close withdrawn person. I'm a Cancer. It takes a certain kind of personality to draw me out of my shell. But we were vibing. So again, like 4:30 in the morning, I'm like, okay, good night. I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow. Okay? And now again, we're talking about the second person. I'll talk to you tomorrow. As I said good night, again, before my very eyes, these new messages started to disappear off my phone. This person had deleted their account after the hours of us talking. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like 2 in a row, really? I'm like, am I doing something terrible? You know, am I that terrible to talk to? That it's made these 2 people in a row delete their accounts. So whatever, I was like, fuck it, like love is dead. Next night, so night number 3, I'm sitting down in the bed, I got something playing in the background, what have you, I'm probably a little buzzed. Boom, get a notification on the phone. So I go onto the dating apps, I have a message from an unknown profile again. And I mean, it's not uncommon to get messages from unknown accounts, you know, it's not uncommon. So I'm like, okay, you know, whatever, who's this? I'm not drawing any dots together at this point. So we get to talking again, great conversation, blah, 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 great conversation. You know, a couple of, maybe half an hour into conversation, I'm like, oh, do you have a face picture? Can you send me a face picture? Got a face picture. It's the same blonde bitch from the night before. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, again, with this bullshit. And again, he brings up this, like, oh, did you watch Anne Hathaway Colossal? And I'm like, no, I didn't watch Anne Hathaway Colossal. And I was like, be gone. I was like, we're not speaking anymore. Okay? This happened to me for a further 6 times. For a further 6 nights, an unknown profile, an unknown person would contact me, would draw me into a conversation. And by this point, I was looking out for red flags within the conversation of like, am I talking to this person again? This person who's, I don't know, like, stalking me, or... I mean, it's more than just, like, winding me up. Because I've spent hours and hours talking to each of these individual people. You know, obviously, I guess... I mean, I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on right now. I still haven't come to the end of this mystery. And I was saying it to Jenny and Lindsay in our group chat. I was like, guys, what the fuck is going on? They were like, this is creepy. This is creepy. And I started getting messages then just from blank profiles being, have you watched Colossal by Anne Hathaway? Have you watched Colossal by Anne Hathaway? Have you watched Colossal by Anne Hathaway? And I was like, why does this person... And every night without fail, the messages would disappear. New account every night, the messages would disappear. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I was like, why? Who has the time to do this? Because there'd been like no talk about like, oh, let's meet up. I want to do this to you. Like, let's just not do this to you, but like, I want to do this with you. No talk of that. It was the same conversation over and over again, to the point where I was like going for a smoke out in the decking at night, being like, God, is someone like watching me from the bushes or what? And at one point I'd gotten this person, I mean, God, who I presume it's been the same person behind like all these 8 accounts. And one of these accounts gave me their Snapchat name, and the Snapchat, you know, had the name, like had like the first name and the second name. So I went on Facebook to that, saw that, okay, the pictures match up with the second person, the blonde bitch, and not the person who was messaging me on the very first night. But who I think now, they've all been the same people. So I've never messaged this person on Snapchat. It's always been via the dating apps. And I remember seeing, and I took a screenshot of it on Snapchat, that person had up being like, oh, if anyone gets, you know, messages from me on the dating apps, it's not me. It's not me, or whatever. But I think that was fake. I took a screenshot of that and I sent it in to the group chat I have with the account. And I was like, guys, I don't think this is real. I think this person is a lunatic. As in, like, I don't think this person is being catfished or whatever. No, certainly not. There's a lot of other people that you catfish, okay? For sure. And it ain't that. So I was like, oh my God, this person is just acting psycho on every level. Then fast forward like maybe a week later, like the messages had been quiet. I had got nothing. The last time I spoke to this person, this account, we talked for a while, and I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. I was like, please stop contacting me. I was like, I can't keep going around this circus of this same shit where I'm talking to someone, and then like 2 hours into the conversation you send the face picture and it's as you again, like pretending to be a new person on a different account, and like talking for hours without even mentioning, oh, I'm the account that you talked to yesterday. So I was like, okay, it's enough. I was like, you ain't hot enough for me to be putting up with all this crazy right now. So I was like, let's call it a day. Let's go our separate ways. Don't contact me again. I won't contact you again. And I wish you, y'all the best. And that was fine. I had a week of silence until last night, where my phone went off again. Conversation I was going was a blank profile, 24 years of age. We started chatting again. Like I said, on these dating apps, the whole blank profile thing, it's very common. So sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And we were talking again for like 2 hours, and I was like, oh, so do you have a face picture? Because again, the conversation was going well. They sent the face picture. It was that little blonde bitch again, the little Jake Paul looking bitch. And I was just like, for real? I was like, not you. Not you. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why? I mean, look, it's not like I'm, Zac Efron, It's not like I'm the most beautiful person in the world, nor am I the most beautiful person on this dating app. I'm not the most beautiful person within a 20k radius of you. I'm like, why me? Why are you attaching yourself to me? Why are you doing this to me? And again, the answer after I seen the picture, and I was like, not you again. And the thing was, have you seen Colossal by Anne Hathaway? And I'm like, what is going on in this person's mind? This deranged, mad little mind. And I was like, seriously, you have to stop contacting me. I was like, I mean, it's not like I can like block the profiles, because there's a new profile every day. And I was like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Like, and they were like, okay, well, look, I'm not all bad. They were like, I pay for everything. I drive, I'll collect and take you places. I pay for holidays. I'm very funny, blah, 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 blah. I was like, look, I don't like you. I was like, as funny as you may be and as pretty as you may be, I was like, the craziness, the amount of annoyance you caused me, God, you disgust me. You disgust me. As Tiffany, in the infinite words of Tiffany Pollard on, Celebrity Big Brother towards Gemma Collins, I would just like to say that she is a fat cunt, And I'm just like, why are you doing this? What's the end game here? And look, I won't lie, when I heard like the whole like, oh, I drive places and I pay for holidays and I buy everything, I was like, okay. I was indulging in the crazy for sure. But look, I'm lonely right now. I'll be honest. My judgment is not like at its best. I'm like currently flying with impaired judgment for sure, because I'm lonely, and I'm obviously just like, I don't know, in a place where I'm like entertaining the bullshit. Like I didn't like block straight away after I seen the picture of who it was again. So I was like, look, whatever. Went on to my phone again this morning. The messages had disappeared again. This has to be like the 10th time in a row this person, whoever it is, has contacted me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So what I'm going to do is write to this person on Snapchat, because I got their Snapchat but never wrote to them. Or I might even write to them on Facebook and be like, surprise, here's me coming for you. I might go after them and see if I believe that it is the real person. I don't think they're using this person as like a catfish or whatever. I believe that it is this real person, and this real person is unhinged. But I think I'm going to bring the battle to them, and I'm going to approach them, because I'm freaked out at the moment, and like I'm just my nerves are shattered. My nerves are shattered from dealing with this. From being like coaxed into these like comfortable conversations, and made like feel, I don't know, I guess a certain level of safe, whatever, for like 2 hours into all these like what have been like 10 conversations so far with different accounts, all of them end up being the same person. I'm like, why have you chose me to stalk? But on the next podcast, I will definitely have an update about what's going on, because I'm taking the battle to them. Okay, update. I just poured myself a glass of orange juice and I decided to message the person on Snapchat, and I was like, you need to stop with the fake profiles. It's beyond annoying now. I sent that to them and they opened it just there, literally this second, and they replied not even 60 seconds ago. I need to stop with the what? Ha 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 ha, question mark, laughy face. Is this on Grindr? Question mark. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm telling you, this person is a crazy person. Okay, this person is going to try gaslight me into being like, oh, it's not me doing the fake profiles. Because one of those profiles sent me the Snapchat, your real Snapchat that I added, that we are friends on. And this, this person's, I don't even know what to write back to this person. This person is clearly unhinged. Like, there's definitely something lacking in their life, for sure. Now, I will keep messaging this person, I guess, and see if I can come to the bottom of this. And then I'll keep you updated. Okay, sorry, before we do move on, another message just came in. I said yes. I said, every day a new profile of you is harassing me and then deleting the account. They wrote back. I'm currently writing back. And this is on Snapchat. Oh God, ha ha ha. Sorry man, that's not me. Don't ask me why, but someone's sending my pics around and sending them back to my social medias. Also, I hope they're not being mean or anything. Lies! Lies! This person has diabetes. This person has diabetes. This person has been toying with my mind for the last couple of weeks and is now gaslighting me into believing that this ain't them. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you might think I'm crazy. They've been like, okay, you were catfish. No, there's something more to this. Oh, he just wrote, just ignore them. I'm trying to figure out who it is, but I can't find them. Posted on my stories a few days ago, hoping it would stop, but clearly not. This person is sick. This person is a sick, twisted individual. This person, okay, is trying to coax me into like having a conversation with them through Snapchat. And you know what? I will. So alone. And I will do it, and I'll tell you guys why. Because I want to study the language of this person on Snapchat if they're claiming that this is the real them and someone else is out there creating like hundreds of fake profiles of them and contacting me every night. I want to see how this person talks, because I'll know in the language, because I've picked up on certain like nuances, whatever, about them, about their language, how they talk, whatever. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I'm going to expose you. And I won't say your name, but I'm going to expose you. Your days are numbered 100%, because trust and believe, the Reilly Research Centre is putting a portfolio on you together. Believe me. And the exposure is going to be big. Okay, moving on. Next mind popper I want to talk about, and I'm going to talk about this very briefly, is the big YouTube drama that's going on at the moment. We have like 4 people at the forefront of the drama. We have Jeffree Star, we have Shane Dawson, we have James Charles, and we have Tati Westbrook. It's a mess at this point. I'm definitely not going to go into it. I have been following it, lightly. I don't know the ins and the outs. I know that like back, I think it was last year, James Charles, like apparently there was things about to surface about James Charles in terms of there was victims of sexual abuse going to come forward on him. Tati Westbrook, this big makeup bitch on YouTube, she's a 37-year-old woman, made the first video which launched the drama, called Bye Sister. Basically said that she was exposing James Charles for the horrible things that he'd been doing, that she needed him to cop on and to come back to earth, and that he was just lost control of himself. And she said that she has like stacks of receipts that were sent to her, and she's heard things by abuse victims, what have you. Basically, this started to sink James Charles' ship. He was losing millions of followers, hundreds of thousands by the day. He was going down, he was going to lose brand deals, and it was going to shock, or was going to just destroy any business plans that he had in the works. whatever, it turns out anyway that like they didn't really have the receipts to back it up, and it kind of backfired on Tati. They were like, okay, why is a 37-year-old woman trying to destroy the life of like how old is he, 19 years old or what have you, with these like false allegations or whatever. So fast forward to now, she's out with a new video, and she said basically that she was gaslit into doing the video by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star, who have their own scandals going on at the moment. And now it's a whole big mess, it's like we don't know who's telling the truth, we don't know who is doing what. And look, really, we don't care what any of them have done, what have you. It's a light form of entertainment. Indulge it in that way. Don't take it on too seriously. Because all the people I'm seeing at the moment that are like, being like, I'm seeing things being posted on like, or like reshared on Facebook, and they're like, if you're a supporter of Shane Dawson, then unfriend me now. Unfriend me now. Like, I will unfriend you for sure. But get it together. Get it together for all you people right now who are like, Shane Dawson is the worst. If you support Shane Dawson, then there's no room in my life for you. Okay, as you say that, while you're climbing into bed in your like little two-piece loungewear set, that was made from the bleeding hands of children, in Tibet or what have you. The bleeding hands of children making your like little stunning two-piece loungewear set, and you're still going to bed with your 8 hours of sleep, sleeping like a baby, knowing that there's these little children, like blood on their hands, like not getting paid to work in these horrible conditions, are making your clothes. I mean, focus on that. Don't come with me with this like false, entitled, enlightened self, being like, if you support Shane Dawson, we're done. There's no room for you in my life. He's such a bad person. I'm like, okay, you really don't care about the matters of the world, do you? You don't. You're hopping on a trend. It's popular right now to kick Shane Dawson when he's down, to cancel Shane Dawson. Focus on yourself. Focus on the actual trouble in the world, Like, focus on being sustainable. Focus on not getting, your like two-piece lounge sets, from the bleeding hands of kids. Focus on that. And when you start making positive changes like that, maybe then we can talk about, Shane Dawson. But I'm just like, get it together. Get it together. Because it just blows my mind how you're all on about like cancelling these 4 idiots. You're all on about cancelling these 4 idiots. Like, with a passion. Take that passion. Better your life. Cut out the fast fashion. Do that kind of thing. Don't come at me trying to make like, judging me for like supporting Shane Dawson or supporting whoever. Don't come at me like that when you are not even attempting to live a better life. You're just, again, using cancel culture to throw out some visceral hatred. So focus on yourself and work on yourself, for sure. Then get back to me. Before we move on to what I really want to talk about this episode, in terms of the election and stuff, just an update on that message, because I'm telling you that this drama that's happening to me is unfolding, right now. I messaged saying, so this is the first time I'm speaking to the real redacted, ? And they wrote back, it is, ha ha ha. My apologies. I'm trying to stop them and I hope they stop harassing you. But if they message you, just ignore them. It will literally never be me, ha ha. And I certainly wouldn't harass you, ha 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 ha. Okay, and here where it gets funky to me, for sure. Oh my god, you're the poor victim of being catfish. If that was me, and someone had written to me being like, oh, I'm getting like these messages every day, harassing, whatever, I wouldn't be like, I'm so sorry that's happening to you. I'd be like, okay, I need you to send me screenshots so I can study the language of this person, so I can like use that and finding out, who exactly is trying to be me, who's catfishing me, who's pretending to be me. This person's like, I'm so sorry that's happening to you. No, this isn't a person who wants to get to the end of anything because they are involved from the very beginning, in my opinion, which I'm still looking into. If you find out that someone is like being harassing you, like I said, and send like created 10 fake accounts and talking for hours, and then this person doesn't even want to know, like doesn't even want screenshots or anything, this person is not someone who wants to get to the bottom of the truth, because they ain't working for the truth. They're in on it. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, you guys, I swear. Okay, anyway, moving on. What I do want to talk about this episode, obviously, is the news that Kanye West announced last night that he's running for presidency. That he's running for the presidency in the 2020 election, okay? What I want to talk about is someone who, in the whole American politics drama, that has always stood out to me as the most interesting person, and the person that has the most to tell, is Melania Trump. Melania Trump. Now, you don't have to have any knowledge on politics to enjoy this next bit. My mind popper is Melania Trump. She's always been one of my big mind poppers and someone I think about frequently. Melania Trump, the whole mind popper around Melania Trump is none of us know. No one in the world knows if, she's just like the first lady, the wife of President Trump, or is this the story of one young woman, a hustler, possibly a gold digger, who rose from nothing to becoming one of the figureheads, one of the most prominent figureheads of arguably the most powerful country in the world? Is Melania Trump the story of a gold digger who got in way over her head? Or is she sincere? Or is there even something more sinister going on? Because we really know nothing about Melania Trump, do we? It's not like, back in the Obama administration when we had like Michelle and Barack, and they were very, at least to the eye, transparent. We felt like we knew them on a more personal level. We felt like we knew what Michelle Obama was out. She, was about. So, she talked. She was very charismatic. There was no like secrets. Of course there were secrets, but to the naked eye, there was no secrets. They weren't hiding anything. There was no mystery about the relationship. Everything seemed good in the hood, But it's not like this with the current administration with Melania and Donald. There are just things that don't add up. So the thing about Melania, to give you a better insight into Melania, because there's just not much we know about her. First of all, her name is like Melania Knapps, which later on she changed to Melania Kraus for modelling. But she grew up in very humble beginnings in Slovenia. Her father worked in a car and bike dealership, and her mother worked in some sort of like textile plant, that made clothes for children. They weren't wealthy by any means. They had lived in a family apartment, in an apartment block. It was basic. And Melania started off doing some modelling when she was younger. It was often the case of people in their area in Slovenia whose parents worked in factories, like those textile factories. Often the kids then would go on and model the clothes because they were making children's clothes, what have you. Education-wise, she attended a school for design and photography and went on to study architecture, which she ultimately dropped out of. Okay, but there is, like, she had passion, she had drive, she had an education under her belt. She wasn't some, stereotypical valley girl, that just fell into, like, someone who had a lot more money. This seems, by all means so far, of someone who was willing to hustle. So she was doing some modelling work between Milan and Paris in around 1995, where she met the, what was he called? His name was like Paolo Zampoli, but he was the Metropolitan Models co-owner. So I guess some sort of modelling house or what have you. He was there, Paolo Zampoli was there. He was doing, he was like in a scouting trip in Europe. As it turns out, Paolo Zampoli, he was a friend of, Donald Trump, who was going to be Melania's future husband. Something doesn't sit right with me with that, like that he was scouting the girls in Europe and happened to be friends with Donald Trump. I'm not making any accusations, but it does have like a trafficking undertone vibe. I'm not saying that's what it was. It probably, it definitely wasn't. But you get what I mean. There's something slimy about it. So he wanted to represent her. So then Melania Knaus, in 1996, moved to Manhattan, where she shared an apartment with this photographer guy that was set up by Paolo Zampoli, who again was the person who signed her to the Metropolitan Models. It does sound a little shady. It does. So, Knaus, again, Melania was featured in a lot of like sexually explicit photo shoots. I think it was in January 96, she was on the cover of Max, which was now I don't think it's still running, but it was a French men's magazine, and she was there posing nude with another female model. She also posed nude then in January 2000 for GQ magazine, and she was like appearing naked. She was like completely naked except for diamond jewellery, and she was like reclining on like this like fur kind of like, I don't know, like fur kind of like carpet kind of a thing, aboard Donald Trump's custom fitted Boeing 727 jet, okay? So then when Trump was asked, like, of course, when he was going for presidency, whatever, he was like asked about his wife's then girlfriend's like past, you know, in terms of nudity and what have you. I just thought it was so funny. He was like, Melania was one of the most successful models, and she did many photo shoots, including covers for major magazines. The photo he's referring to the photo she did for Max was taken for European magazine prior to my knowing Melania. In Europe, pictures like this are very fashionable and common. They weren't. But so everything seems all right so far. I guess, like, we don't really know how they met. You know, it's unclear how they met. Melania tells a story that they were at the same party. They said it on Larry King Live. I was watching some old footage of them before the presidency. They said that they met at a party, that Trump was actually there to hook up with another model, but he saw Melania and was like, I have to have her. I have to have her. Again, you know, it was definitely sleazy. You know that. It wasn't like Harry Met Sally shit. So then, like, fast forward in the year 2000, she petitioned for a right to have, like, permanent residency in the US. So that would have been under, like, an EB1 program, and this program is basically, you would have heard of it, but when you're applying for citizenship, this would be, like, for people, say, like, who have extraordinary abilities. Do you know the way you can apply for citizenship in a country? And one of those things is if you have extraordinary abilities. So obviously she was going to try to do this under the guise of modelling that she'd achieved so much. But you have to keep in mind that she achieved moderate success in the world of modelling, but in no way did she excel. You know, designers were not fighting over her. Melania Trump, then Melania Krauss, she wasn't Naomi. She wasn't a Clume. She wasn't a Schiffer, you know? And when you apply for that form of citizenship through the extraordinary abilities route, it's usually only 2% of those people. In an industry, say, like, if you were to say you're a soccer player and you want US citizenship and you're saying, you know, I'm going to the extraordinary abilities route for my citizenship, you'd have to be in the top 2 percentile of soccer players, you know? So think about it, like, Cristiano Ronaldo could go and apply for US citizenship, sure, and use that route. But Melania Krauss, she was not at the top tier of modelling. Not even close. She fell somewhere midway. You know, she was not a supermodel by any means. She had not really excelled at all in terms of modelling. So obviously then it became clear that, you know, back in 2000, obviously she got the citizenship, the US citizenship. But obviously it became very clear that she had connections to people in power that would be able to influence that application. She didn't get in on her own merit into the country. So then, in keeping with that, the Washington Post reported that at the time, Melania Knauss, her credentials included thus far, she'd done runway shows in Europe. She had done a Camel cigarette billboard ad in Times Square, and her biggest job on her resume at the time was a spot in the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated, where she featured like on like a beach in a string bikini, and she was like hugging this like 6-foot inflatable whale or what have you. But she didn't excel at any niche part of the industry. She hadn't won any awards, and no one had written about her work in, you know, any significant publications. But, like I said, Melania was granted her citizenship in 2006, even though it later emerged she was working illegally in the country on a visitor's visa, you know, where you can't work on that, but she was doing modelling gigs while on that. And then she was able to bring both her parents into the country as well as citizens through something called chain migration. Chain migration is like where one immigrant will come or whatever and then establish, and then they can bring over the family kind of a thing, which is something that since the beginning of Donald Trump's candidacy, he has been adamant against. But yet, Melania came in and obviously had some strings pulled, and then she did the same for her two parents. So the two of them, Melania and Donald Trump, they got engaged in 2004. On January 22nd, 2005, they married, you know, they married in Florida, and they followed at a reception at a ballroom in one of their houses in Mar-a-Lago estate. So it was Melania's first time getting married, and it was Trump's third marriage at this point. And there was a big host of celebrities at the wedding, don't get me wrong. They had Katie Couric, Matt Lauer, they had the likes of Heidi Klum, Star Jones, P. Diddy, Shaquille O'Neal, Barbara Walters, Conrad Black, Simon Cowell, Kelly Ripa, Hillary Clinton, and Bill Clinton were also there. Also, you know, good friends of Donald before that went pear-shaped or what have you. And Billy Joel even serenaded the crowd at the wedding. You know, I think their first dance or whatever was Just the Way You Are. And like, of course, like Melania and Donald's wedding at the time was all over the press. Melania wore a $200,000 custom dress made by John Galliano of the House of Christian Dior. So, up until this point, obviously this is before the presidency. You know, she thought, as far as I'm concerned, that okay, I've met this guy who's, you know, I think he must be maybe he's over 25 years older than anyway, because Trump, I'm sure, is like mid-70s. Melania is 50. Melania is 50 today. So for all accounts by now, this is before the presidency, it seems like, look, a model who didn't have necessarily like a super successful modeling career had landed, you know, had connected with this much older guy. He was like a big business titan. And why not? Like, Trump already had 4 kids by this point, you know, with 2 other women. So I guess, you know, Melania saw an opportunity, and I guess she jumped at that. Because she's a stunning woman. And keep in mind, Melania Trump is, not even in my opinion, it's just a fact, she is the most fashionable first lady that there ever has been. She just creates iconic look after iconic look. She's very into like her capes, kind of like a draconian kind of cape, very dystopian. You can't fault her for that at all, because she's gone to school for design and for architect and stuff. She knows what she's doing. I don't think she's someone who's being dressed, you know, by a team of stylists in the White House. This is someone who knows how to look good, you know, and she does. She's the best looking and most fashionable first lady America's ever seen, you know, and that's just a fact. So like I said, I spent my day like watching old interviews with Melania and Donald, all before the politics bullshit. And the marriage seems quite legit to me. And when I say the marriage between the two of them seems quite, because it always comes under fire, it seems quite legit to me in terms of it's like an arrangement. They, you know, live 2 completely separate lives. And it's like a marriage that's based on like convenience almost, and maybe even a certain level of companionship. So to say that Melania is just a background character, it doesn't do it full justice for me, because, you know, she is a person who does have a certain influence with Donald Trump. He will allow her to talk in his ear, you know. Obviously they had the kid, Baron William Trump, and I think it was in 2006. Trump said on Larry King, so this was again before the presidency, it was actually before their only child they have together, Baron Trump, was born, but they were saying that they were interested in starting a family. Trump said on Larry King that he wouldn't be changing any diapers, he wouldn't be feeding the baby, and he might not even see the baby because he works so much. So again, him and Melania, they live very separate lives, and it seemed to work for them. Melania Trump was now, and again, she wasn't, this is before presidency, but, you know, she was now financially secure. She'd brought both her parents over for a better life, and she had the child that she wanted to have. You know, she may not have had like the perfect like whirlwind romance marriage, but this was a model who was getting older, you know, had not achieved, you know, the success levels that she may have wanted to achieve. She saw an opportunity to, look, settle down, become financially stable, in a comfortable marriage, maybe not necessarily one full of love, but I was able to take care of her parents and bring them over to America, and was able to have the child that she always wanted to have. So then is where things start to get a little crazy, because we're coming up on the 2016 election, which saw Melania, a woman who had received some success in the modelling world, like I said, but nothing spectacular. She would go on to be catapulted into becoming the First Lady of the United States of America. And like this time for Melania had to be like super chaotic. Because you all remember the speeches she did. You have to remember the speeches that she did, and she got ripped apart because they were like almost word for word identical speeches to Michelle Obama's speeches that the Obamas had done during their administration. You remember that scandal where they were playing the side-by-side footage of Melania reading her speech and Michelle Obama reading her speech, and it's like word for word identical. And not only that, it was coming up on the time as well where Melania had decided to take out a $150 million lawsuit against the Daily Mail. She was suing them for $150 million damages because the Daily Mail came out with like some investigative report or something that like during Melania's modelling career that she was working in an escort service. I mean, which to me would make a lot more sense on how her and Donald really met, like 100%. Again, we don't know. So she claimed that the Daily Mail had ruined her chances of establishing like a multi-million-dollar brand, because at this point she had been doing like Melania jewelry, she had been doing Melania like like cosmetics, like face creams and that kind of stuff. So she had been trying to establish a brand from herself in the early years of her marriage to Donald Trump. I think it was in 2010. But the Daily Mail came in anyway, so she tried to turn around and sue them for $150 million. The Daily Mail ended up conceding in the end, and they agreed to pay her a humble $2.9 million in damages. You know, a far cry away from the $150 million that she was suing for. Was this kind of like a little hide up? Like, look, just give her the $2.9 million. I want that story to go away type of thing. You don't know, because you have to remember that Melania now at this point in her life isn't just messing around in the modelling world with like sleazy guys or whatever in the exciting lifestyle. She is now in a world in the US presidency where she is now in the midst of these big evil titans, these big giants. And when I say evil, I mean evil to the core. I mean, you have to remember that now, like, because in that world is the big pharmaceutical companies, it's the oil companies, it's the most powerful in the world, it is the most evil in the world, is now what she's in the midst of, because that's what the US presidency is all about. That's what it is. It's these big evil money-making forces all coming together. And we know Donald's relationship with Big Pharma, and we know his relationship with the oil and stuff, him getting out of all the environment agreements and what have you. So there's a lot going on, a lot of pressure. They can't see Donald Trump fail because he's helping all these big money making monsters. So she's now completely out of her element. But there was something interesting that happened. You'll all remember in 2015, so it was in the months leading up to the election where Trump became president. So it was in those months just before he had won the presidency, the Access Hollywood tapes came out where you saw Trump sitting on like that bus and the old Access Hollywood tape, and he's like talking to whoever. I think he's there with Billy Bush and some reporters and what have you. They're like filming something anyway, and they're talking about the women in the bus, and he's like, yeah, like, you know, when you're rich and famous, whatever, it's like you can go up and do anything, like you can go up and grab him by the pussy and that kind of thing. So this was a pivotal point in the relationship, because if Melania chose to leave him there, she would have destroyed the Trump administration before it even started. He wouldn't have been elected president, because the Americans have this thing where they love to see like the traditional family unit. Like, they love that. And if there was a separation, it would have cost him the election. It would have cost Trump the presidency. So it was at this point in the relationship where Melania was at her most powerful. And, you know, everyone was like, is she going to walk? Because if Melania walked, then it would have been over. There would have been no Trump. There would have been no President Trump. She had the power to determine what way the election went there and then. She decided to stay with him. And she came out and she was defending him, and like the whole locker talk kind of argument, said that he was a good man, a good caring man. So the presidency, like the campaign, wouldn't be derailed. But the very interesting thing, like I said, this was at the pivotal point of their relationship where if Melania walked, Trump would have lost the presidency. So this was the most powerful position Melania had ever been in the relationship. So she took this time, right, behind the scenes to renegotiate the terms of their prenup during this scandal. She took the time when she was at her most powerful to renegotiate the deals of their prenup and get a better deal for herself, and she took it. That's why I'm telling you, Melania Trump is no fool. You may look at her and be like, oh, this is just some gold digger who's along for the ride. She's no fool. She is putting things in place for herself. And people are like, oh, well, she can barely speak English, okay? She speaks like Melania Trump speaks like 5 languages. She speaks like Siberian, she speaks German, she speaks French, she speaks Italian, she speaks English. Okay, and she speaks Slovenian, I guess. So I'm saying don't disregard Melania as some sort of gold digging fool, because she is a lot. There's a lot more to her than she's leading on. And again, people were like, okay, she doesn't really do anything in the presidency. You know, how much influence does she really have over Donald Trump? An interesting story I came across the other day was when Trump was running for president. Again, like, you know, a president needs a vice president. We know that. So before Trump, you know, had one office, he had 3 people to pick from. Obviously, we know that Mike Pence is Trump's. He's the vice president of the United States, Mike Pence. But so Trump had 3 people to pick from. He had Mike Pence and 2 others. So what happened was, before he picked, you know, who he was going to run with, the story goes that he had Melania spend 2 days with each of the 3 people. Spend 2 days, get to know them, whatever. She came back to Donald, and Donald was like, okay, so talk to me. And Melania was like, your next vice president, or your vice president is going to be Mike Pence. And Donald was like, why have you chosen Mike Pence to be my vice president? And she said, out of the 3 of them, Mike Pence is the only one who I have, you know, determined from being around and from just monitoring them, whatever. Mike Pence, Donald, is the only one who will not go for number 1. Mike Pence is happy being number 2. So basically, Melania told Donald that Mike Pence is going to be happy being the lapdog, is happy being number 2, is never going to want to usurp the throne, usurp the power. So she was like, pick the lackey, pick this guy. He's not going to give you a whole lot of trouble. And that is why Trump went on to pick Mike Pence. So there are points in things that behind closed doors where Melania has had influence on this, you know. But if I was to make speculations and some predictions, I think Melania Trump has gotten everything she could possibly get from this marriage. I think that she's outgrown it. She's realising that she's 50 years old and she still looks amazing, and she's a whole lot of living to do outside of that White House. You know, and those videos of the two when they're out in public and she's like refusing to hold his hand or like pushes his hand away, it gives me life. Like, this is a woman, you know, who is following her contractual obligations as First Lady and won't indulge any further. Like, you've seen them. You get what I mean? Like, they don't act like a married couple at all. It seems like purely professional. And like, obviously, it's written into the prenup that she can't leave during his presidency or she'll walk away with nothing. You know, similarly, if he gets re-elected now in the upcoming 2020 election, she's not going to be able to walk away for the next 4 years. You know, they're not going to let Melania Trump walk away while Trump is in the White House. She's not going to have that option. There's no free will here. Melania Trump is absolutely not allowed to walk away and divorce Trump during this, because it will be detrimental to his presidency. They absolutely won't allow it. If he doesn't get re-elected this time round, which I predict that he will, but if he doesn't get re-elected, she'll walk away within 2 years. Mark my words. If Donald Trump doesn't get the presidency in 2020, Melania Trump is going to walk within 2 years. She'll divorce him. I 100% believe that. Again, if he does get re-elected, she's going to marry him. But you have to think of it like this: that if Melania Trump tried to walk away during Trump's presidency, her life would be in danger. Like, they would tell her that you'll be killed. You'll never see your son again. Your parents will be killed. Like, they're not letting, like, this isn't like free will. This isn't like happy family. This isn't what have you. Like, you were dealing with the biggest evil superpowers in the world. There is no way Melania Trump even if the marriage is like falling apart, they're not together, she can't walk. They will not leave that marriage for years. They will kill her. If she tries to do something, they would rather have Melania Trump, they would rather the headline read, Trump loses wife in horrific accident. Like, Melania dies in horrific accident, rather than Melania walks out on President Trump. That will never happen. Ever happen. They'd rather sooner see Melania dead than walking away from that marriage. Absolutely, you have to keep that in mind. So there's just so much going on. And as well, like, imagine the non-disclosure agreements that Melania must have signed. Imagine the terms of that prenup, you know? Like, she's under so much, like, rules and regulations. Like, my hope for the future is that, like, they do separate, which I think that they absolutely will. But it's going to be the moment when she does her, like, first big sit-down interview post-Trump. Like, the biggest sit-down ever. It will be the biggest sit-down ever since Bruce Jenner sat down for the first time as Caitlyn Jenner. Like, an interview with a post-Trump presidency Melania, you know, separated from Donald. That would be an interview that would prick the ears of the entire world, because we all know what we want to know is going on. And the thing about, like, the things Melania must have seen and must have heard and witnessed, like, I have no doubt that Melania Trump could bring the entire White House to its knees if she chose. But then again, is she going to do it? And then, like, I mean, like I told you, this woman is in danger. Like, this woman at this point is a hostage. There is no, like, okay, I've had enough of this, I need to get out. That ain't the way. That ain't happening. And of course, we've had then the conspiracy theories around Melania Trump. If you remember, maybe like last year, the year before, there was this whole big scandal about pictures of Donald and Melania out in public, or, like, you know, going to the event. They don't go out in public together, but they're there for the photo shoots, for the events, you know, the kind of, be it something to do with veterans or what have you, holidays. And they were like, that's not Melania Trump. As in, they were like pictures of this woman who, I mean, had a resemblance to Melania Trump, but wasn't Melania Trump. So a lot of speculation goes on, and a lot of people still actually do believe this. That, because I can't remember what year it was, but it was recent enough. It was maybe 2018, Melania, she disappeared off the face of the earth for 5 weeks because she had to get an operation done. It was something to do with, like, a kidney condition. She needed to get, like, a blood vessel blocked, something like that, which they said that she was fine. She made a full recovery from. It was a very successful procedure. People said that those 5 weeks, it wasn't the real Melania Trump who came back. And I don't know how much I buy into that at all. But what I will say, as in, like, they're saying that Melania was killed. She was taken out. She was only weeks away from leaving Trump, and they decided to kill her, take her out, and brought in someone, you know, who looked like her. They paid someone to have plastic surgery to look like her, what have you. I don't know about that one. I mean, look, would it surprise me? Absolutely not. Like, you guys have to understand and comprehend that the US presidency it's not like as it seems. Like, this is a big evil circus, you know. So, I mean, sure, they could have done that. I don't think it's that practical, you know, to kill her and have the body double come in for, like, the rest of it. It's just not practical. It's not practical at all. So I doubt it. But again, would not be surprised. So Melania Trump, she has secrets to tell. I think she's negotiated herself a very powerful deal in that prenup. I just feel like, you guys, that Melania Trump is going, in a couple of years' time, mark my words, within the decade, she is going to rock the fucking world. Like, we have not heard the end from Melania Trump. I think that she is going to be one of the biggest firecrackers in US history. Like, mark my words, honestly. Whatever about Melania, okay, we'll see how that unfolds. But Kanye West running for presidency. You know, a lot of people are like, don't vote Kanye, blah, blah, blah. At this point in the game, where the world is on fucking fire, like, the world is on fire, it's crumbling down around us, the chaotic soul in me is like, go on, just give it to him. Let Kanye be president of the United States. Let's just see what happens. Look, God, we are in just a real fucked up place right now. Let's see what happens. John, the devil in me is like, I would like to see how this goes, 100%. Like a Yeezy White House, 100%. So obviously, in case you missed it, Kanye tweeted out last night that we must now realize the promise of America by trusting God, unifying our vision and building our future. I am running for president of the United States. #2020 vision. which Elon Musk reached out in support, saying like, oh, you have my full support. Would Elon Musk potentially be the vice president to Kanye's presidency? I mean, possibly. I mean, why not have like the world's, like twisted evil genius as your VP? Why not? Like, how could it not get more fucked up? Like, why not? So the thing about it is, people are being like, okay, is this official? Can he actually run? Because it's 4 months, you guys, until this whole election's happening. Can Kanye West really run for president? The thing is, he's missed the deadline on a certain number of states. In states like New York, it's too late to get his name on the ballot. But there is time still for him to enter as an independent. Because obviously he won't be running as a Democrat because that's Joe Biden. He won't be running as a Republican because that's Donald Trump. So he'd have to run as an independent. And yes, the short answer is yes, he could still get his name on the ballot. So yes, he could still run for the president of the United States. But I was looking into it, and he does not have appeared to register his name with the FEC, which is the Federal Election Commission, for November's election. The closest name, right? So there is a name on the FEC database, right? And it's called Kanye D's Nuts West, who filed their papers with the Green Party in 2015 under the address 1977 Gold Digger Avenue, Sweet Yeezus. And it's raised no money for the campaign. But back in 2015 is when Kanye first announced at I think it was the VMAs, that he was going to run for presidency. So he may have already set himself up so that he can actually get on the ballot a lot faster. And you know what? To look at it, like, realistically, with 4 months of the election, I would say that there's a 0% chance that we'll be able to see Kanye West as being the president of the United States in 2020. Like a 0% chance, because we already have Trump and we already have Biden. The only thing that's going to happen here, and some people are like, is this like a conspiracy? Is that you're going to have, of course, a lot more people, liberal people, voting Kanye West. Then you're going to have like conservatives and Republicans who are going to throw their vote at Kanye West. So the whole thing is, if Kanye does put his hat into the ring, you're going to have loads of these young liberals who are going to go and waste their vote on Kanye West. So what it's actually going to do is take away from the Democratic vote. It's going to cost Joe Biden the election, and all Kanye running is going to do is just give Trump an even better chance of winning the election. If he wanted to try it again in 2024, who knows? Look, like I'm saying, look, if I was over there and I was a registered voter in America, I'd be giving my vote to Joe Biden. I would be. Not that I particularly like him, but I'm going to go with the lesser two evils. But am I mad that Kanye's running for presidency? Absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. Like, I'm there for that. I'm there for the mess. I'm just going to say it. I'm there for this. I am there for First Lady of the United States, Kim Kardashian West. Like, how have the Kardashians, time and time again, have went from a sex tape to like the 32 day marriage with Chris Humphries, to like, they have like the OJ Simpson connection with their father, to Bruce Jenner coming out as Caitlyn Jenner, being transgender. It's like, when you think this family couldn't possibly grasp the world by the head and keep them interested, now we're looking at we see Kim Kardashian, who's lobbying President Trump in the White House, because she's now wanting to obtain her law degree and working in criminal justice reform. And now for the possibility, and we have to say that it is a possibility, because we look at Trump, who back in the day was, the apprentice, who was just a reality TV star, and everyone laughed, back then when he said that he was going to run for the presidency. Look now, in halfway through 2020, when we're in a position where Kim Kardashian West could be the first lady of one of the most, if not the most powerful, influential countries in the world. Like, who is writing this shit? Who is writing this? Who is writing this? This is just going from crazy to fucking crazy. Now, well, I doubt that. I mean, like I said, there's a 0% chance that Kanye West is becoming the president of the United States in 2020. It's just not going to happen. It's just too late in the game. With Trump out of the picture in 2024, because obviously Trump, if he gets re-elected, he'll have served his two I'm not sure what you call it, two servings, I guess, of the presidency. he's not allowed his terms. 2 terms, you can't do any more than 2 terms. Could Kanye West be president in 2024? Absolutely, Kanye West could be fucking president in 2024. Like, and I'm here for it. I have to say, I'm here for the mess. I'm here to see where the world goes, you guys. It's a very exciting time to be alive. Anyway, you know what? It's just a lot of madness going on right now. You heard a lot today. You heard about like Melania Trump. You know, the story of gold digger or very smart businesswoman. Okay. Kanye West, is he going to be president in 2020? No. 2024? Potentially. And you heard about my story of being stalked, which I will keep you updated on. Alright, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Mind Poppers episode. As always, if you have an interesting story to share, if you have a mind popper of your own, you can contact me on Instagram at Adam O Reilly. Until next time, stay woke.